One of my favorite types of Japanese slang terms to explain on this channel is terms which are both really old and also very dead, so that I'm completely wasting your time, because if you use them to young people, they won't understand what you're talking about, and if you use them to like older people, they'll think you're some kind of weird gaikokujin for even understanding or knowing this term. So let's get right into doing that again with the terms Marukin and Marubi. Now, sometimes with older terms, it's hard to explain where they come from or when they were first used, but that's not the case here because these terms were both invented in 1984 by the manga artist Watanabe Kazuhiro and popularized in this book, known as King Kong Kan. Now, this was a pretty successful book back in the day, and basically it's sort of a humorous portrayal of contrast between the life of rich Japanese people and poorer Japanese people. And for whatever reason, Watanabe decided to use the term Marukin to refer to rich people, basically taking the kanji for money, right, kane-kin, and putting a circle around it, which is something you can actually just do in Japanese anyway. But if you were to describe that, it would be kin in a maru, right? So marukin. And then for poor people, he took the word bimbo, which is poor, and for some reason didn't just take the first kanji, but just the first mora, and decided to call that Marubi. So in a panel like this, for instance, you can see both of the terms at the top of the page being used to refer to these two groups. Now, I haven't read this entire book, and I'm certainly not going to do that just to make a video which will not make me Marukin. But in the page that we're looking at, you can see that there's kind of contrasts, although some of them don't really make sense to me, like the dress and the skirt are about the same price, but the poor people, or the Marubi, they bought theirs with part-time job money, which I guess is a poor person thing to do. And like the guy who's poor is smiling and has hobbies that he spends money on, whereas the rich people are like not very happy and intimidating looking and have Hitler mustaches. I don't really understand why that's related to rich people. Actually, you know what? Maybe it tracks. Anyway, because this book was a bestseller, there was a period of time where Marukin and Marubi were understandable terms to refer to rich people and poor people. Is that the case in 2026? Well, no. Marukin is especially dead. I'm not going to say no one is using it, but it's incredibly hard to find anyone using it in any context because there are actually two other uses of Marukin that are much more common in 2026 and dominate the data. One is that Marukin is just the name of a ramen restaurant. So if you search for it, this will be like the first hit that comes up time and time again. Indeed, the prices don't look that expensive, so I guess ironically, you could go to Marukin even if you're Marubi. Second is then what I guess I'd call like convenience store slang or smoking slang, because Marukin is used as a reference to Marlboro, so that's where the Maru comes from, lights, because they have gold packaging, right? So it's the gold Marlboros. This is not idiosyncratic. There are a number of people that use it this way. I guess it's popular among the tobacco kaiwai. Is that a word? Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Or what about like kitsuen kaiwai? Is that a word? Oh, it is as well. Well, that's just fun. And I wouldn't say this is like a common term, but it certainly seems to be a common term, at least among people that enjoy this specific cigarette. On the other hand, though, Marubi does still see some use on the internet, even in 2026. Now, this may be very old people. Like, I don't know the age of the person that posted this comment saying that even though it's the weekend coming up, yes, Hanakin means weekend or Friday. I didn't know that either, but there you go. Look, you actually do sometimes learn things in my videos that are potentially useful. But they're saying that despite it's the weekend, they're going to stay home instead of going out because they are Marubi, and that's what that means. But yeah, they might be like 60 or 70. I don't know. You're allowed to use the internet at that age. So there you go. But the Maru doesn't just stop there, because in fact, there's actually another term that has this reference, which doesn't come from the book, but that's Marupe. And this is actually, from what I can tell, in 2026, more common than either of the two. And what does it mean? Well, it's a reference, no joke whatsoever, to the science fiction series Peri Rodon, which apparently was pretty popular, or is pretty popular among like the SF Fukaiwai in Japan, to the extent that there's a Marupe t-shirt that is advertised explicitly as for fans of this show. I don't think that any of these three Maru words would make sense in like day-to-day traffic, but like these do exist. These absolutely are real things that people have written, said within their kaiwai. Let's not just focus on the death of words, because these two words did have their day in the sun. Indeed, they made the 1984 Buzzword of the Year list in Japan, so let's be kind and remember them as they were rather than as they are. Indeed, while we're unburying obscure words for financial status and giving their corpse a day in the sun, I should also mention that the word Gerupin is another term for being poor. And this is an incredibly international Japanese slang term, as the geru here comes from the German word for money, Geld. Yeah, I probably mispronounced that. I don't speak German, sorry. And then the pin comes from pinch, right, in English, like not like pinching you, but in a pinch. pinchi itself being like a productive Japanese word that exists very much and is not considered slang anymore or anything like that. So when this person says that they're holding off from buying stuff because they are Gerupin, that's what that means. They are Marubi. And this term dates back to at least the 1970s, so we have around 50 years of use, if not more. And I would say, compared to like Marubi, it's seeing more use in 2026, although I wouldn't recommend going out and using any of these terms unless you want to, surprise your 60 or 70-year-old friends. So a lot of what we talked about spawned from a book called Kinkonkan. The fact that these words aren't really relevant today may make this discussion a bit of Tonshinkan. But that's okay, because this video is about me talking about whatever I want, and so you're just gonna have to let me Maru be.